Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Brian Lagerstrom, the proprietor of this YouTube channel, and I've got my wife, Lauren, here.
Hi.
She helps me with the channel, if you guys weren't aware of that. She's going to be reading some questions that you guys submitted back over Thanksgiving, and I'm going to answer them closer to Christmas because I didn't hit record on the audio thing last time, and now I can see that it's definitely recording, so let's get into it.
Stephanie F. from Kofi asks, what's on your holiday table? So in this case, let's say Christmas. And how is it different since Lauren is gluten-free?
Holiday table this year is actually going to be beef bourguignon. My sister and I decided to make that for our family's Christmas up at her house. We usually do something kind of feasty like that. It kind of rotates. Every year we used to do ham when I was a kid with cheesy potatoes and green bean casserole, and that was pretty dope as well. But with Lauren being gluten-free, beef bourguignon, that recipe is gluten-free. So we usually pick something that can be made gluten-free because we actually have some other family members in the extended family who are allergic to gluten as well. So it's kind of just a consideration of that. Nothing too special on the gluten-free front.
Yeah, we're not going to yell about something not being gluten-free. I don't want anyone else to not have their favorites because I can't.
There's always gluten-free green bean casserole floating around at a holiday, or usually gluten-free cheesies as well.
Yeah.
Lucky
I
girl.
I do like the cheesies. Carrie Gibaldi, our friend Carrie.
Oh, our friend
Yes.
Sea Dog.
Yeah, says, Brad Guy, happy holidays. You mentioned weekend meals a lot on your channel. Do you plan meals for the week or month? And if so, what are they? And then second part, do you have any food prep tips for similar sized households of two?
Since I've been doing YouTube, my meal planning has been super sporadic. Before YouTube, I would sit down every week before I went to the grocery store and like a total nerd, write everything down on a piece of paper and be like, Tuesday, we are having salmon with mixed greens and roasted broccoli, and that way I wouldn't have to like go back to the store. For me, it was like an ultimate defeat having to go back to the grocery store like a second time.
And it helps prevent waste. We would waste way less food that way.
Yeah. And I would just I like cooking off the cuff, but it's also when you're working a lot, it's stressful to have to figure it out every night. So to have something kind of pre-sketched in a pretty detailed way helps a lot. Nowadays, it's a lot more loosey-goosey. Like I didn't know what we were going to have for dinner today until like 5:15. So as far as like weekend planning of food goes, that's usually whatever videos I'm developing. So the next thing that I'm going to like cook at home is going to be the first video of 2022, and stay tuned for that.
No teasers?
No teasers.
Okay.
This isn't going to be a spoilers type
Got it.
situation. Mainly because I don't want to like say it out loud, because if it doesn't work out, people are going to be like, oh, he verbally committed in the Q&A.
Where's that video?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What was the second part?
He's asking for food prep tips for households of two.
I would just say making a grocery list and a meal list. You don't have to stick to it, but going as much off of it as you can is like a good call. You definitely don't want to be just going to the grocery store with no plan. That's what Lauren used to do.
AKA me at age 26.
Yeah, so she would go to Trader Joe's or whatever when you're 26, and nothing against Trader Joe's at all, but we were really into that grocery store in our early mid-20s because it just seemed like everything was so cheap. But then you have like tons of filled bags in your freezer of like prepared foods from Trader Joe's that weren't very good. Yeah, 2 like really bad egg rolls too. You're like, oh, it looked better than it was. Anyways, she used to go to the grocery store with like no plan and would always come home with like $20 worth of cheese, like a thing of stock, and like 2 vegetables. And it's like
Here, make something.
Yeah, you would spend like $65 and be like, cool, we've got groceries for the week.
For the day.
Yeah, wrong. We don't even have a single meal here. We have like a half of a snack.
I can make a soup out of it, and I did.
The last straw was Lauren used to make this thing all the time she called Asian sour soup. And it was essentially just like very weak store-bought stock with rice vinegar. Like she would just like put whatever was in the fridge in it.
Rice noodles, vegetables.
It was not good, and I didn't like eating it, so I had to take charge.
Yeah.
So Carrie, if you're out there, dude, I would recommend making a grocery list. It's going to make things go pretty good.
That's it. Jacob wants to know if you think a chef's enthusiasm or tolerance for spicy food correlates with the sensitivity of their palate.
I don't think that, like, at all. I think most chefs or cooks who are very into spicy food and pride themselves on being, like, spicy food tough guys, they're usually not going to be super talented or have a very sensitive palate at all.
Ow.
It's a hot take, but I'm being honest with you. Like, the guys who are super into...
Douche? Is that what you're saying?
The guys who are super into hot sauce are also the guys that are going to tell you that you're making chili wrong. Those are like, those two things go together for sure. And I don't think that I would trust them to tell me if my dish is seasoned properly. It's a hot take.
It's a hot take.
It's a spicy take. Next question.
Jacob also wants to know if you have any interesting stories about the music selection in the kitchens where you've worked. DJ Brian, Chef Brian.
The places that I was the chef of, we always like listened to the music I wanted to listen to. That's like one of the perks you get from being a chef. You know, you give up all of your waking hours to a job, and in return, you get a very low salary, and you get to pick what music everybody listens to. Music-wise, no real fun stories other than as a chef or as a cook, you listen to a ton of it because you're prepping, at least in the restaurants I worked in, for hours at a time, and you have to find some way to stay in the groove. So the full spectrum of rap, metal, funk music, disco, hip-hop, everything from every style, every genre, every era, it's all on the table. I'm a huge music fan. I went to college for music, or audio more specifically.
It's funny, too, that you started with rap and metal.
Yeah.
Being that, like, those are the two genres you listen to least, by far.
Yeah, true.
No offense to those, but...
They come to mind, though, because my appreciation of them comes from, like, chefs, my chefs playing them loudly for hours.
Blake's getting into the personal questions with
What's up, Blake?
He wants to know your favorite quirky TV shows that you like to watch when you just want to veg.
I guess the quirky thing about them is that I mainly watch like sci-fi shows. I don't really watch a ton of other stuff. Lauren and I will watch movies, but if I'm like watching an episodic series, it's usually all sci-fi. I've been into a show called The Expanse for a while. We've seen all of that. There's a show on Apple TV called Foundations, which I can highly recommend.
I think it's just Foundation.
The Foundation.
So
I know.
who likes sci-fi more?
I know. Lauren does for sure. Lauren's watched like all of Battlestar multiple times.
All of Doctor Who, which is goofy.
That's not sci-fi.
It's goofy.
I'm into hard sci-fi.
Let us know in the comments. Is Doctor Who sci-fi? Is it?
Yeah, but other than that, I really just watch YouTube. That's it.
Space shows on YouTube.
I watch a lot of space stuff on YouTube.
Science fact, if you will.
Yeah, science nonfiction.
Yes. Stephanie F. from Kofi wants to know... Stephanie F. from Kofi says, you've said strong flour quite a few times lately. Can you break that down? Because I feel like I'm missing something.
Strong flour to me means flour that has over a 11% protein content. That's a variable line. It's kind of arbitrary. But for me, anything below that is going to have a much different absorption than something higher. So a lot of AP flour in Europe, or just stuff that you might find at your grocery store like Gold Medal brand, that could be 9 or 10%. And my recipes will not work very well. At least the water, they'll be pretty wet. The higher protein you go, for the most part, the more absorbent the flour is. So if you're like using high gluten or bread flour that's 12.5, 13.5%, it's going to suck up a ton of water compared to like cake flour, which I think cake flour is like 7 or 8%.
So may I ask, if you have a lower percentage of protein flour, is there a way to make your recipes using those? Can you use any supplements?
Well, you can always add a little bit of vital wheat gluten if you had it around, or just use less water. That'd be really the simplest, best way to do it, is to maybe hold on to 5% of the water. So if you're using 100 grams, just take 5 or 50. I can do it. I've been to elementary school. If you're using like 100 grams of water, just like leave 5 of them out and see if you need to add them back after the dough is mixed.
Alex asks, are your countertops always cleared or only for videos? Well, Alex, let me tell you.
Excellent question. The answer is definitely yes, because I'm a nerd, I guess. I don't like to have clutter around. I feel like slightly allergic to it. And it's pretty, what you see is what you get.
Except for over there. He doesn't let me show over there.
Well, that's like where all the dishes go. Yeah. And it does bother me that there's stuff over there right now. I might need to, look into why I'm so controlling in that way, but
you like what you like.
I don't want stuff out. Lauren has Christmas stuff out right now, and I'm cool with it, but like
it's tasteful.
It looks good, but it's killing me that it's there. And if it was up until like January,
and it will be.
We'll see about that.
Goat tactics. We see this individual in the YouTube comments a lot.
Oh yeah, he's usually day one commenter.
I love it.
Or he or she. Sorry.
He or she. Wondering if you're doing.
Or they.
I blew it. Sorry, Goat Tactics. Wondering if you're doing YouTube full time now since you're doing 2 videos a week.
So I am doing YouTube full time. I started doing it when we got back from France, which was like the first week of October. I left my other job right before that trip. I knew we were going to be gone for a while, and I thought that would be like a good clean break. So I guess it's been almost 3 months now, and it's going really well. And if I don't say it enough or haven't said it yet, thank all of you guys who watch these videos, because that has been a dream come true for me to just get to work from home, work for myself, and put out interesting recipe content that it seems like people get value out of it.
Somehow they're watching.
It's extremely rewarding for me, and I really appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Gary Novosel asks, how about a behind the scenes video? What all goes into perfecting a recipe and the process prior to final production?
We actually tentatively did have a behind the scenes video on the docket for January. I've since taken it off because I tried to make a different type of video a few weeks ago. It was a cheese video, because I thought it would be like, oh, if I'm going to be making 2 videos a week, when I have a Thursday video that has a ton of meat on the bone, that's going to be really hard to make, I need to have a little bit of a lighter lift on Mondays. So little snack. Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to describe it. So the cheese video was a new type of video though, and it turned out to be like really hard to make. And it took me like, instead of 2 days, it took me like 4.5, and I was very stressed. So I need to get back to, in January, I'm just gonna be making recipe content. I think the idea of a behind the scenes would be really fun, but anytime I make a non-recipe video, it's very difficult, because it's a different type of skill set to just give just information. I don't know how to describe it other than that, but it's just a different style of video that I haven't developed the skill for yet. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to see a video like that, and I'll rethink doing it, because it would be a fun challenge, but it would definitely be a challenge.
Maybe a day in the life. Is that weird? I think it'd be kind of cool.
I guess I'm just like, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm such a perfectionist. That sounds like so.
You don't want people to see what a true psycho you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't let them see inside your closet, and you'll be fine.
I would have a hard time putting out something like informal, like right before we started recording this Q&A, actually, Lauren and I were like about to bicker over like how serious like I was getting about like, okay, the angles have to be a certain way, and like you can't say anything when I'm talking, and I won't say anything when you're talking, and it just takes all the fun out of it. And I feel like if I was going to do a behind the scenes video, it'd be just like that. It would be like fake.
Meanwhile, I've got a cocktail, so that's where I'm going with this evening. Bombed Nevada wants to know where you learned all those bomb dance moves.
First of all, sick name.
Bombed Nevada.
As far as dance moves, I just let them flow, baby.
That's where they come from? Right here.
They come from the heart. But honestly, it kind of started, it wasn't like a planned thing. We were trying to figure out how to close the videos, and normally at the end of the shoot, the camera is at 120 frames per second, so I can shoot the slow-mo stuff of me like showing the bites of food so people can have kind of a satisfying ending. And one day it was just rolling on like a wide shot, and I was legitimately so stoked on what I was eating that I was like doing a little groove, and we had some music playing. We were about to clean up, and I was like, that's fun and kind of unique. And it's definitely like my personality. It's not forced at all. Like, I'm a dancer, dude.
You are a dancer.
The B in B-Man still stands for Boogeyman.
Jesse Banwell, we've seen him on YouTube, comments a lot. That's nice. That's nice of him. Where/how did you meet your wife? His wife wants to know.
Oh, so we met at a little housewarming party with a very random spread of people that on any other night of the year would have not been in the same room together. My roommate was dating somebody that she worked with, and it kind of was a small enough group of people that we were able to talk a little bit. I was a mess at that point in my life. I didn't bring my wallet, and I was wearing like Tom's shoes. If you know what those are, they're basically like wool socks.
And this is dead of winter Chicago. Couldn't have been more than literally 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
I wasn't really wearing a winter coat, and I was wearing like wool slippers basically. And I forgot my wallet at home. Like, what a loser. But anyways, Lauren lived by me. We like our apartments were close, so I bummed a ride. She like paid for our taxi back to the neighborhood, and we really hit it off in the cab ride, and we pinky swore to meet up again, and the rest is history, baby. 14 years later.
14 years later.
Love you, boo.
Love you. Sean Fine wants to know, what recipe were you the most excited to share and why?
That's a tough one because there's like over 120 recipes now. I was really excited about the weeknight shawarma taco because that was the first official weeknighting video, and I had been kind of brewing on this idea of doing a more straightforward, easier recipes designed specifically to be made on a weeknight. And I just thought it was like a fun, novel idea that takes something very delicious and turns it into something also very delicious and familiar. So when we launched that video, I was like, this feels good. I think the video is fun, and the recipe definitely works, and it's easy. It was like the perfect combo. And in terms of other recipes that I've been really, really excited with over like the years, the original sheet pan pizza recipe rips pretty hard. That was like the first recipe video I ever did on the channel. Don't go watch the original video. Please watch like the 2.0. It's super easy and it's good. And I'm just really proud of that one. And that really set the tone for us doing recipe content, because before that we were going to be a different type of channel, and I've talked about that before, but that was like, oh, okay, I can make this recipe thing work.
To take it down a negative path, do you want to talk about the videos that you're not excited about,
that
you don't like?
This is a good question, because in the videos you don't really see how much of a struggle they can be sometimes. I definitely include some failures in there just to give you guys guidance on what to avoid, but croissant took a lot of tries, and it's not just making it and failing, it's filming it and failing, because the process will have been wrong and all the footage I have can't be used. And to film something like that, it unfolds over the course of several hours. I move the camera a lot. It's really labor intensive and it's a total grind. And again, very blessed to be able to do that for my job, but it's real hard work. And if you have to redo that and then redo it again, it gets, ask Lauren, like, how dark does it get around here?
Dark.
Croissant was hard. The birthday cake was hard.
Yeah.
All the pastry recipes, because I'm not a pastry chef. I have to basically, text my pastry chef friends to be like, what did I do wrong? And luckily they're very kind, especially Sarah Osborne. Shout out. I know you're probably not watching this, but if you do, thank you so much for all your help. And
she's badass.
She is super badass. She owns a dog treat company, Jack Snacks. I'll throw it down in the description, by the way. We work together at Niche, which is a James Beard restaurant that we worked at together, and here in St. Louis, and she's amazing.
We trust her expert opinion. Almost always the final product, the end result, is something that you're proud of. Otherwise, he would not allow.
It's all part of the process. And as time has gone on, I don't start filming until I have a really, really polished idea of where I'm going with it. And I have a full detailed shot list and stuff, because I've just wasted so much time filming recipes that were not ironclad and ready to go. And then you get halfway down and you're like, oh, shit.
Arbalest wants to know your take on the cooking approach of Kenji Lopez alt.
Kenji is an absolute pure, unadulterated hero, in my opinion. I've been using him as a reference for years and years throughout my entire chef career. Just aside from America's Test Kitchen, or maybe Milk Street, which is essentially like in a different way the same thing, there really hasn't been a ton of great vetted recipe content out there. And if you're looking for a good starting point, he usually has one. Sometimes his stuff gets a little esoteric and weird almost for the sake of it, but I've actually referred to him as a demigod in videos before. Yeah. He's super intelligent and has done a lot of actual testing, which is pretty rare. There's so much bad recipe content on the internet, and I'm sure everybody here has suffered through a bunch of it. It's a sea of trash, honestly, and he's like a lighthouse of goodness, and most of his stuff rips.
Wow, we're gonna take that quote.
Yeah, Kenji, if you're out there, dude, hit me up. Let's do a video.
Brianna wants to know your process of recipe development.
So I've talked about this a little bit before, but I'll kind of breeze through it again because it's changed a little bit. Laura and I have a meeting like once a month to fill up the bucket of ideas, if you will, for future videos. And then in the following month's meeting, we'll sort of go to that long list of ideas and pull out the ones that we think are going to work. We usually do a sandwich video and a pizza video every month just because you guys really like that. YouTube serves up that content, and I think they're fun. They're like ongoing series, and I worked in a pizza, sandwich, and bread restaurant for 3 years. So I have a lot to say about those types of foods. And then we kind of fill in the rest of the schedule, and then we have like the month set out for what videos we're going to make. From there, I start doing research, reading like 10, 15 different recipes to see where I want to start. Sometimes I have my own recipe that I've developed from over the years. Those videos are super easy to make because I've already done all the mental work and I have my opinion in terms of like what a Caesar dressing should be like. I've done so much thinking about that. I've got a grammed out Caesar and I'm going to share it with you guys. And like that video I'd made in one day. But for the most part, I have to do days worth of research. Then I start trialing stuff out and I usually 2 or 3 full attempts at getting the final product. And then I might make it one more time before I film it. And then as far as filming goes, like I said, I have a full on shot list. So I know I don't miss any details and that I have plenty of sort of like B-roll to cover all of the things I like to include. That's one thing I think separates the content a little bit is that when you're watching me cook, I might add a sentence here or there about, you know, why we're using potatoes here instead of roux to thicken the soup. And you need like lots of B-roll to be able to do that and keep it fresh and not boring. And that's something I've learned the hard way. And after it's filming, I'll do a rough cut, write a script, record the voiceover. Everything I say is written down first. That's a huge mental task because I'm not a trained writer. That takes me a pretty long time. And then from there, it's just like 12 more hours of editing. Each video takes between 25 and 30 hours, but it does not really include the sort of ideation stage where I'm like doing research or Lauren and I are like talking about ideas.
Mm-hmm. This is a very relevant one. Daniel R asks, what's up with the throwaway plastic deli tubs?
People think that I throw those away, but we rewash them and reuse them. I've had the same fleet for like 3 years. I mean, some of them eventually get cracked and you have to recycle them. Let's be honest, they're just getting put in the landfill.
We don't know that. We have a recycle bin.
I think recycling is a myth. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong.
You're going to get it.
I don't know. Somebody send me an article and show me that this plastic is actually being recycled.
I hope it is. It would make me feel better.
I don't have like a good glass option. Deli containers for me are just comfortable because I've used them for years. They're stackable. They're modular. They all share the same lid. And they're pretty robust. I've had them for a long time.
If you had glass, would you break it?
Yes. The answer is definitely yes. And I need a lot of them. So if I'm doing like a bread recipe or something, I make 3 whole batches of it while I film it in case I screw something up or if I need to cut something on camera, and I need like an alternative angle. So I'll have just backups on backups on backups. So I need to like measure out 3 full recipes and that could be 25 cups right there. So if anybody has a better idea, I'd be really interested to know what you're thinking. Lightweight,
stackable, ideally not breakable.
Yeah. And
someone invent that, really.
I'm sure it's out there.
A non-plastic option. I'd love that.
I haven't spent a ton of time really looking into it because I'm pretty set on these things. People always think I'm throwing them away. I get like emails being like, "Hey, I love your channel, but why are you throwing away so much plastic?" And just know that I'm not.
But
one every other week gets cracked and I throw it away.
The comments have helped you to start using lids more often than like plastic wrap. And that is, it's a good alternative.
For sure, your feedback does go into how I think about the content that I make because I try not to present myself as knowing everything and the expert on every topic of food ever. So tons of feedback in the comments kind of helps shape my thinking when it is coming to the recipes. Like what kinds of details are you guys looking for? What do I usually miss and need to include?
Chris, you have a dad?
Yeah, so I have a dad. He's got the same name as me. And when you see Brian Lagerstrom in the comments, it might not be me. It's pretty confusing. And Dad, I know you're watching this. Change your YouTube handle.
Dylan Liu asks, is there any dessert that is guilt-free? Please tell me. I want to know. That last part was from me. I want to know.
Yeah. I don't think that there's like a good dessert that's guilt-free. We eat apples and almond butter for dessert sometimes, and it just doesn't hit right, dude.
Johannes Klein asks, what film equipment do you use?
I use Sony cameras for the most part with some Tamron lenses. I use the Sony A7C. I'm a huge fan of it. And as far as lighting, I just got some new lighting, actually. This is all aperture stuff. And yeah, it was really nice to make the investment in something good. Before this, I was using a fluorescent tube grow light that I used to create seedlings for my garden. It was like, I don't know, 4x3. It was very large and it weighs about 50 or 60 pounds. And we would have it on our counter leaned against the cabinet and it fell off multiple times and my floor is super dinged up. And Lauren was
I was cool about it, actually.
You were cool about it, but I mean, you were like legitimately
Inside,
bumming hard.
I was a little sad.
I was bummed too. We have really nice wood floors, and now they're all dinged up.
It's okay.
But yeah, that's my major setup. Sony cameras, Canon. If you're out there, catch up.
Oh,
yeah,
shots
hot take.
fired.
Yeah, any Canon users out there? Sorry, guys. Just
No. What do you say about the Canon color science, though?
The Canon colors, though, guys.
Yeah.
Ugh, I'm jealous. Here's a pro level tip, guys. If you're filming, from like let's say 6:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. and you don't really eat anything, and you got crackers there, just watch what you're eating. Could be an SD card. You never know. Public
Probably
service.
will be.
I mean, I almost did it again with almonds. I'm not joking.
No. Put that thing in a case.
I know. It was. I would
have yelled.
I
did not yell the first time. I was incredibly supportive and I felt terrible. But if you had done it again,
no excuse.
No.
I'm a freaking dipshit.
Larry Goodwin am I yelling? Larry Goodwin is renovating his kitchen. He wants to know your opinion on electric stoves. Thanks. You are awesome. Sunglasses emoji.
Thanks, Larry. Right back at you, dude. How about a hang loose emoji, double peace sign emoji, and then like a I'm a gas guy because of restaurant cookery. I like to have the analog. I can see how much flame there is and then infer how hot my pan is getting. Electric is very powerful, but it's kind of transient. It gets very, very hot. Too hot, I would think, for most applications. I've burnt a lot of stuff and really smoked up my house with electric ranges. Adam Ragusa did a video, though, that kind of made me rethink it a little bit. And I would definitely recommend searching that one because I think he has a gas range now, but has traditionally been an electric guy. And it's a really informative video. He has like a thermo camera and stuff. And I think either one is good. You just got to get used to it and use it a lot. And don't get a cheap one. And when I say cheap, I mean there's some $300 things out there that whether it's gas or electric, it's just not going to put out a lot of effective heat. So you don't have to spend a ton of money. This was like $850. That's not cheap, but I use it literally it's the most used thing in my entire house other than my computer for work. So it was worth the investment.
Nicholas Weeks wants to know if you have any advice on Christmas dinner. He's getting really tired of the same old stuff.
For Christmas last year, Lauren and I made a roast duck with some potato gratin and like a wine sauce, like a port wine sauce, and it was sick as hell. It was really good. Roast duck is very underrated, and I think it's perfect for the holiday table because you're definitely not making yourself duck like on a weeknight. So it's something you probably aren't going to be eating a lot of, and it's not very hard to make at all, and very decadent, very luxurious, and honestly like a very heavy. But just what you want. Like if where you live is cold out during Christmas time, like do a duck, dude.
Wear some flannel.
Wear a flannel, do a duck. I'll do that video at some point soon because I really, really love duck.
Yeah. I want to know, Xander asks, I want to know how to get pizzas crispier. Seems like everything I try backfires. Poor Xander.
This is a hard one, man. I mean, pizza, like bread, is a tricky beast, and it takes a lot of tries to really get in the zone. Preheat your oven for a very, very long time. Use a pizza steel. Nothing against stones, but they just lose their heat so much, and the second pizza is never very crisp, no matter how long you let it reheat. Well, I mean, you could let it reheat for another hour, but you're not going to because who wants to eat a pizza every hour? Well, that sounds pretty sick, actually. But, it's like pizza time is now, not in an hour from now. The steel holds onto its heat way better. Make sure your dough is well fermented, too. Under-fermented dough doesn't take on color the same way and just will not get crispy. Whatever.
What about, did you mention putting them on a wire rack instead of on a cutting board or flat surface? Another
thing you can do is to put it on a wire rack as soon as it comes out of the oven for 5 minutes. It's going to be way too hot to eat in that time period anyways, and it's going to be steaming hot, and that moisture is going to escape instead of like making the bottom that you've worked so hard for get soft and bendy. So that's another good one. Hot steel, though, that's the number one, I would say.
Jennifer Tennant.
Ooh.
Quick tips for roasting the perfect Brussels sprout.
I go with a hybrid move where I roast them, but I also kind of cover them on the back. I do it on the stovetop because, as you guys, a lot of you know, I use these large 14-inch nonstick pans. You don't have to have that. A lot of times I do it in a 10 or 12 incher as well. But you can get like a full pound or so of halved Brussels sprouts in a 10 and 12 inch pan. I'll cut them in half, get them laid cut side down, hit the pan with some oil, and cover it with foil and then roll it over like medium high heat. Hit it with some salt too. That will draw some moisture out of the Brussels. And it's kind of like a hybrid where you're steaming them and sauteing them and at the same time. So the moisture from the Brussels sprouts is being kept on the vegetable by the foil. It kind of creates like a sealed environment, but they're still getting that hot, dry heat of the pan, and the oil is kind of transferring that heat well. And check back every 3 or 4 minutes and give them a shake. And you get the best result that way. Doing them in the oven works really well too, but they tend to get overly soft and they lose a little bit of that fresh green vegetable flavor, and they turn a little bit more into like a turnipy cabbagey flavor when they're fully roasted. They're great roasted in the oven too. If you're going to do them in the oven, I would say preheat your sheet pan. Get that ripping hot first, then cut your Brussels, toss them in a bowl with salt and oil. Get them good and coated in oil, because in the oven, they're really going to need that to get the heat transferred. And then throw them onto a ripping hot sheet tray and try and get them cut side down. And even try the foil trick in the oven too. That's the thing, is like they're such a dry vegetable that keeping a little bit of that steam that's coming off of them trapped around them is going to cook them a lot faster and keep them from getting dried out. And maintain like hot, wet heat on a green vegetable like that gives you a really nice, fresher flavor than just like lower, longer heat, if that makes any sense.
That's great tips.
I love that. We should do a video on that.
Great tips.
Thanks for asking, Jen.
Final question from Uncanny. When's the weightlifting video coming? We're all waiting.
Let's do it right now, baby.
Lift me.
Lift
Just
Lauren?
kidding. No.
What should I do? Should I do dips?
No one can. No one.
Let's see how many I can do.
He's doing them. I don't have a phone.
Are push-ups weightlifting?
No.
That's all the questions, right?
That's it.
So thank you guys for tuning in. Happy holidays. And I want to say it again. Thank you guys so much for watching these videos. Thank you for being here all this time. If any of you guys have been here since the Weeds and Sardines days, big thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those videos were pretty brutal, and yeah, I appreciate you watching. As always, thank you for sticking around, and see you in the next one.
Bye.